One thing that I want to stress is, yes, there's no treatment and there's no cure, but there are clinical trials. So if your loved one has FTD, I would say look for the clinical trials that are available in your area. I'm not going to promise you and say that they work, but the testing needs to be done so that one day in the future, we can wipe the world clean of this disease. I don't want my children in a world where this disease exists to experience what it is that I'm experiencing. I would never want that. My mom is a part of several clinical trials. Whether or not they help, I don't know. I also don't know if she's getting placebo versus actual treatment. But that's irrelevant because if this isn't being studied, then we're never going to make any moves. That leads me to my next point where, and I'll connect this in a second. Just because a doctor says something, always double check. I'll give you an example. In November, right around Thanksgiving time, a week before Thanksgiving, my mom had to go in for an MRI for one of her clinical trials. And at that time, she had declined very rapidly in a short period. And we just thought it was FTD doing its thing. But she got really bad over the course of like maybe 3-4 weeks. So she goes in for the MRI. This is the week right before Thanksgiving. And they said, if anything shows up, they'll let us know. If not, it can wait. Fine. Thanksgiving rolls around. She is not well at dinner. That was Thursday. On Friday, her leg was really swollen. We didn't know why. She couldn't walk. And on Saturday, my dad texted me saying he has to take her to the hospital because she can't walk at all. The leg is super swollen. We didn't know what was wrong. We go to the hospital, and because her condition is so unique, the neurologists at the hospital needed to contact the neurologist that ordered her MRI. And this is the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. There's no one in the hospital. Everyone is off from work. It's a holiday weekend. It turns out that the MRI that she had earlier that week showed bleeding in her brain. And if it wasn't caught, it could have killed her. And we just assumed nothing was abnormal because nobody called. Nobody called because nobody looked, because nobody followed up. So she was rushed into surgery. They had to drain the blood. And then it was as if she didn't decline in those few weeks. She was right back to where she was prior to what we thought was FTD doing what FTD does. So what I would say is always check, and double check. That MRI wasn't looked into because it was filed as a research MRI and not a clinical MRI.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because she had had one a few months prior, they didn't think anything was wrong. Everybody attributed this decline to FTD, not knowing that she's bleeding in her brain, and that's what's causing the decline. And she was bleeding because she fell. A couple of weeks prior, she lost her balance, fell on a hard surface, and hit her head.
Okay.
But who would know?
Right. And she can't communicate it.
Right.
Right. Like if your dad or someone hadn't seen the fall, you wouldn't have even known she fell because she wouldn't be able to self-report.
What happened was she got up in the middle of the night, I think, to go to the bathroom, and she just tripped because it was dark.
Right.
And the bathroom had, marble floors, and that's what she fell on.
Wow.
And it was a hard fall, but you wouldn't think that, your head is bleeding.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks like that. And especially when someone with dementia is declining every single day.
Wow.
That's what we all thought.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But even the best doctors sometimes do make mistakes.
Right.
So just be cognizant of that. And it doesn't hurt to get another opinion. It doesn't hurt to call them endlessly and be like, I need my results.